It needed 12, at least 12, maybe 14. What is up, everyone? Ryan Ray here, Outpost 23. Thanks for visiting. If you could, like and subscribe. It's free, it doesn't charge anything. We're growing. We're trying to grow. So we need your help. So thank you for that. Tribes of Europa. Let's talk about it. I was going to do a season, episode by episode breakdown, and one of the commenters said, you gotta. She said she had binged it, and I won't say her name, but you can find the comments. And she said she'd binged it, and then I started binging it. Okay, it's only 6 episodes. I had no idea. This show never ceases to amaze me. Every time I think I've got my grips on it, I'm like, okay, we're deep in this thing. It's 6 episodes. Like, it needed 12. It needed 12, at least 12, maybe 14. Like, okay, so let's get into it. Generally speaking, I like the show. It was a good show. Enjoyed the show. Would watch season 2. So if that's all you came here for, hit the thumb button and the eject, because we're about to get into spoilers. Let's get into it now. Okay, so Tribes of Europa, say that 5 times fast. 2079, whatever it is when it's set. And there's several things that's going on here. First off, as I said in my first video for episode 1, is that it's told mainly from the vantage point of the tribes of the Aborigines. And that's really important throughout the rest of the season, because you don't know who's good and who's bad, because they don't know who's good and who's bad. And that's something that the show does a good job of not necessarily opening up too much, right? So they come across the Crimsons, and you're like, okay, the Crimson's good, the Crimson's bad. Come across the Crows. The Crow's good, the Crow's bad. You got the Atlanteans. It's kind of mysterious. It's in the background. You never fully know who is good and who's bad. And so that's a good thing that the show does, and it does a good job of not going outside of the Aborigines' viewpoint. You have a few scenes throughout the show where the Aborigines characters are not involved, and you get a little bit of a glimpse, but it doesn't really change the vantage point that the Aborigines understand the people to be. So, for instance, there's a shot in season 1 with it's only crows, and they're it's the Capitan, the head guy, and they're talking about the cube, they get the cube, and you see the kind of ruthless type people, and so you understand that, but you don't really know much beyond that. And that's as they encounter the Aborigines, that's what you see. So the difference would be is if you found out that the Crows were like Machiavellian-like thinkers and their big strategy, and they dress up to fool people to make them feel like they're ruthless killers, like that would have changed it, right? So on the first scenario, what you saw is what you get. In the second scenario, what they could have done and they didn't do, which is these people are really one thing, and the audience gets to see this, but what the Aborigines get to see is this thing, and they never confuse that. So what you see is mainly from the viewpoint of the Aborigines, and so you're going through this process of learning who are the Crimson, who are the Crows, who are the Atlanteans, and who is Moses, and who are all these characters. You never fully quite know because the characters don't know. So just a tip of the cap, because sometimes shows like to get ahead of themselves and let the viewer in on too much, and they did not do that. With that being said, the only criticism I have is they don't let us in on enough. So season 1 feels like a half season. It really does, because we start with the Aborigines, basically the ship crashes, and we end where they found the Atlanteans, but it doesn't mean anything. And it doesn't mean anything in a lot of ways. Let me unpack this. So episode 1, you have the ship crash, and there's 3 kids and the dad, and that's really who the story follows for the whole season. These 3 kids and the dad. They find the pilot of the ship, who's an Atlantean. He has his cube, and the youngest of the 3 kids takes a cube, and before they can really figure out what's going on, the Crows attack. Okay, the Crows attack. The 3 kids are separated, and the dad separated. The youngest kid with the cube goes on his journey. The middle child, I believe, he is taken captured by the Crow, and the oldest child, the girl is believed to be left for dead. Turns out she's alive, and she goes with the Crimsons. The dad's captured and is with the Crows as well. Okay, so these 3 storylines break apart, and they never come back to season 1. They never intertwine, except for the 2 with the Crows. But the 3 kids, they never come back apart, and those are the main characters, because as we know, if you're watching this, spoilers as I said, the dad dies. We'll talk about that in a second. So the 3 kids, they're separated, not knowing what will happen. And from the vantage point of the youngest, he thinks the other 2 siblings are dead and the father's dead. So he thinks everyone's dead. from the vantage point of the middle, he, I think, is probably a little bit more agnostic. I think he thinks that he knows that the youngest escaped. He believes the sister's dead because he asked the dad about it, and the dad's kind of like, and so I think that's kind of what he thinks happens. The oldest, the daughter, she doesn't know what happened, other than the bodies aren't there when she awakes. So maybe she presumes that all of them are with the crows, or some of them with the crows. She wants to go to the crows to get them, but she really doesn't know who's there or what to expect. She just kind of is living on this prayer that they've been taken captive, and now they're going to be there. But she really has no idea. So that kind of makes it interesting. What will she find when she gets there? She doesn't actually know. All she knows is she didn't find the bodies, therefore she presumes that they're there. Now, so let's parse this out. The youngest goes on this mission. He finds Moses. Moses is kind of a swindler type, always trying to make a deal, and both characters kind of play off each other, right? So the kid and Moses, they both are kind of hiding secrets. They're both trying to maneuver, trying to posture. The kid's trying to get the cube to the Atlanteans, and Moses is trying to pawn the cube off to the highest bidder. And that's really their story. And it's interesting and it's fun, but that's really the story. The journey is to get the cube to the Atlantean. Well, we understand that has a relevance in the story because the cube contains some information about something that's coming, but we don't really know what it is. Now, they come across a Chinese family, and the Chinese family says that, there's some kind of storm. The cube seems to indicate that as well. What it means, how dangerous is it, how to stop it, we don't know. So their whole story arc is fixing the cube and taking the cube to the ship, and they get there in scene. It's good. I'm not complaining. I'm saying, so again, the context is I enjoyed the show. I think it just didn't give us enough for a full season. So these are the things they're going to have to flesh out in season 2, hopefully more than 6 episodes. As far as the daughter, or the middle child, he's taken captive as a crow, proves himself useful quite early on by exposing a smuggling scandal. And then he is moved to where he is a personal slave of Valvera and goes through kind of being shamed through that process. Ultimately, his whole arc, and this is interesting because he was the one who so the youngest child was curious about Black December, what happened to make the world the way it was. The middle child, he is interested in what's out there. Let's go explore. Well, he's getting to explore, and he's finding out it's not what he thought it was. It'd be better to live in the woods than to go live in the crows. He really doesn't belong in this world. The question now is, well, let me not get ahead of myself. So, as he's captured, he exposes the ring, and then he goes to Valvera's private sector, where he's actually humiliated in a different sense, right? He's kind of being humiliated as a slave like everyone else is, not really getting paid attention to, and then he's being humiliated on an individual level. And it seems to be a real struggle for him. He doesn't say a lot. His character does a good job of not really revealing too much, so you're always kind of left wondering, how does he think about it? And then as the story progresses, either he is playing Valvera, where he wants her to think he has emotions for her, or he does, and you don't know. And so I really liked that part of the story, going, okay, well, is he really feeling sorry for her, or is he trying to manipulate her? Ultimately, his goal is to fight Bose, I think is what it's called, where he fights another crow slave, and the winner gets to be a crow. The loser dies. So it's orchestrated that ultimately he fights his dad, right? So he fights his dad. He kills the dad. I said dad dies. And the dad says, go find your sister and brothers. So the dad is curious because the dad earlier wouldn't answer the question about the sister. Is he just trying to give the son hope and aspiration? Does he really have reason to believe the daughter's alive? I think he's just trying to say something nice as he's dying. He doesn't want to say, go find your brother, because that it's obvious. So I think that's all there is to it. I don't think the dad had any hope that the daughter lived. It looked pretty apparent that she did, but maybe he has an inkling. Maybe he's the kind of guy, if you don't put the finger on the pulse, he's going to wonder about it. So I don't know, but I thought that probably was the best story because the way it's told. You don't get a lot from this character, and yet a lot's happening. You can see he's struggling with all these emotions, and you're trying to figure out, is he really becoming soft on Valvera? Is he, now that he's a crow because he wins, is he going to be a hardened crow? Is he going to use that to try to escape? He killed his own father. Will those demons haunt him? There's a lot of stuff. And then Valvera, for her part, seems to be soft on him at the end. So will there be a romantic element of this now that he serves under her as a, I guess it's kind of like the feudal system, but I don't know, we don't know how that works. So whatever that means, he's not a slave anymore though. Then you have the daughter. The daughter's arc is quite interesting because she is, according to the other kids in the first episode, kind of the favorite, the chosen one, the de facto leader of the children. And now she's thrust into this situation where she really doesn't have any power, right? So she's with the Crimsons, and there's a captured crow there. She wants to break the crow out. So she's constantly trying to jockey and to maneuver and to try to help. But now she is just one part of a large army, and her way and what she wants, she doesn't have the sway that she used to. And so she's constantly trying to maneuver, and yet she's finding out it's a little bit harder to maneuver things than she ultimately thought possible at the beginning. Then she also realizes at the end of her kind of arc, her season 1, is that the people that you think you can trust to do the right thing, it's not clear that they could. And it's kind of thrown in her face where she is asked to kill the leader, the father of the Red Crimson, and she won't do it. Ultimately, the person who wanted to kill it comes and kills him himself. And so it's kind of shocking for her because this is someone who is in jail, and she knew he wanted him to be overthrown, but was he gonna he's gonna break out and kill him? Like, that seems kind of crazy. But that's what happened, and it messed up all of her plans. All her plans to go get her brother and sister were for naught. So, of the 3 kids, 2 of them are trying, it seems, the middle and the oldest, are trying to put together this path of reuniting. The youngest presumes that everyone's dead, so he's on his own journey. Now, how this comes together in season 2, I have no idea. I'm curious to see. I thought it was good. I really enjoyed it. There's some dark parts into it. Listen, this is dark. This is not a holiday special. So it's got some dark parts, but it's interesting, and they're doing it right, and they're doing it from the perspective of the origines, and it's very, very small understanding, and we don't know what they don't know, and I really like that because it keeps us guessing as to who's good, who's bad. The Crows, they seem to still be bad, but the Crimsons, there's a lot of blood on their hands too, as you learn now. The Lantians are kind of the big mystery. There has been some people joking that maybe or some people, I say joking, referencing that maybe they're not as good as people, the viewer might think they are, but we don't know. So season 2, I will watch it. I'll review it. I'll probably watch this season 1 again, just to kind of pick up on the things that I missed. Let me know in the comments below. Did you like it? What did you like? What didn't you like? And will you watch season 2? Oh, on the way out, like, comment if you could. Thank you so much. Be back next time.